This episode of Pool Magazine podcast is proudly sponsored by Ledge Lounger, the leaders in outdoor living and in-pool furniture. Ledge Lounger believes outdoor living inspires life's most meaningful moments, which is exemplified in their new collection, Autograph. Want to learn more about the Autograph collection? Check out what's new and visit our website at ledgeloungers.com.
Thanks for joining us on another episode of Pool Magazine podcast. Today, I'm chatting with Greg Howard, president of Carecraft, a leading buying group in the pool industry. I mean, this year, Polaris is celebrating its 50th anniversary, and I figured who better to chat with about the history than the former president and CEO of Polaris Pool Systems. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us today on the show.
You're welcome.
So 50 years, that's quite a long time, and perhaps you know more about the history of Polaris than most. I was hoping that you could chat with us a little bit today about the brand, how it first got its start and became a household word in pool cleaners, and where the company has gone over the past 5 decades.
Well, where the name comes from is the North Star. So, Polaris is another word for the North Star. The previous owner of the company was fond of a couple of things. One of them was Fox. So the name of the company at the time I joined was Allope, which was the Greek word for the fox. And his boat was called El Zorro, which was another term, I think, Spanish for the fox. And so the combination of Polaris and everything Fox is how we referred to the company through the years.
Now, I know you originally had the spa one, and that later became acquired by Polaris when you became part owner. And I also know that you were the president and CEO of Polaris Pool Systems from around 1986 until 2004, almost 19 years. What are some fond memories you have from that time period?
Well, I think there were some firsts for Polaris that are important today for the industry. So the first one is that we had a trip for distributors, started in 1979. And the owner at the time, Jim Edmiston, had an idea that he wanted to thank the distributors that carried the products by treating them to a trip. And the first one was to Hawaii, and there were only 50 people that came to it. But the company was the first one to go to Disney World in Florida to 1,900 people. So that's an important milestone for the industry. The second big thing that I think the company did for the industry was what's now referred to as a MAP program, minimum advertised price. We were having a tough time because the Polaris was so widely recognized. Retailers were taking it and selling it for less than they were buying it for, a little bit like how they do loss leaders in grocery stores where the price of milk might be $2.99 a gallon when the grocery store pays $5 a gallon to buy it. People were buying the Polaris cleaners and selling them at a loss so that they would convince the consumer that everything in their store must be at a low price because the big famous brand Polaris items were less than they were anywhere else. So we instituted a minimum advertised price program and cleaned all of that up. So that was another big first for the pool industry. One thing that was interesting that we were not the first at was having a spokesperson. That when we arrived on the scene, Arneson, which was really the first pool cleaner to go to market, had Arnold Palmer as their spokesperson. And he was on television doing commercials for the Arneson pool sweep at the time. And we came along and picked up, Suzanne Summers was our spokesmodel for a dozen years. And she was on all of our packaging, and she was in our ads, and she was also came on our trips with us. She would sit by the pool and sign autographs and talk to the customers. And she was a big part of our marketing. And that was helpful to us to counteract what Arnold Palmer was doing for Arneson.
Sure. I mean, now Polaris today is now a division of Fluidra that honestly they're credited with inventing the very first automatic pool cleaner and introduced the pressure side cleaner to the industry way back in 73. I mean, you kind of entered in with Polaris systems right around that time frame. Can you give us a little bit of insight as to what those kind of initial products were like when they entered the market?
So there were two people who invented the original Polaris. It was Mel Hankin and Jordan Levy. One was a dentist and one was a anesthesiologist. And the two of them took Coke cans and rubber bands and fashioned them into a little car that would walk around on the bottom of a pool. And it had a bag on the top that looked like a chef's hat. So literally Coke cans, rubber bands, and a chef's hat. And from that idea, the Polaris was born. And the idea was that it was the first pool cleaner that could vacuum and sweep. The Arneson product was only like hoses in a pool. It stirred up the water, and you still had to lift a basket out to empty the debris. But ours was the first product that actually vacuumed and swept, hence the name Polaris Vac Sweep. It took a team of engineers 2 years to take those Coke cans and turn it into a working pool cleaner. And for the first 10 or 15 years of the company's life, it was the only product that the company had. We literally built an entire company around a single product until there were additional ones brought on later. Fluidra today has dozens of pool cleaners in every category. They have suction cleaners, pressure cleaners, electric cleaners, and now cordless cleaners. So they've really expanded the line, but we started with one product and it took us quite a while to add a second, a third, and a fourth.
Well, even that was revolutionary for the day. I mean, honestly, we were talking about a time where there was no internet or Wi-Fi. I mean, your TV was still a piece of furniture back in those days. So, I mean, what were some of the biggest challenges of bringing Polaris products to market back in those days?
The biggest challenge is the way we viewed what a successful cleaner was. There are products that you can put on the market, and if they work 90% of the time, it's no problem. The other 10% get returned, and you give the people their money back, and they get resold to somebody else. If you open a box and put a pool cleaner in a pool and it can't be made to work, now you're taking an expensive device that's been scuffed up by the pool, the box is soaking wet, and returning it. So our idea of a successful introduction of a product was that it needed to work in virtually 100% of the pools that it was dropped into. So we created a series of adjustments that you could make to a pool cleaner, and we were proud of the fact that we never met a pool we couldn't get one to work in. So we would adjust the length of the hoses, the amount of water going to the cleaner, so that adjusts the power. On the cleaner itself, it has a device called a thrust jet that aims the water coming out of the back of the cleaner either down, neutral, or up, and that helped it climb better. And we had adjustments for the wheels so that if it was getting stuck in a corner, we could adjust it so it would come out. And we had a thing called a backup valve that would literally, if it got stuck, it would drag it away from whatever it was stuck doing and move it back to the middle of the pool and give it a chance to start a new path. So the part that I think I'm the most proud of is the fact that we were able to come up with a cleaner that we never met a pool we couldn't get it to work in.
When we talk about, how those products have evolved over the years, I mean, what are some of the key and core products that Polaris sells today?
Well, the Polaris concept was always to be about cleaning pools. That was the original notion of it. And we really believed that pressure pool cleaners were the best ones. Pressure meaning the water that's going back to the pool drives the cleaner. And we thought that the best way to power that was not to use the same system that moves water for the rest of the pool. We thought it was better if it had its own power supply. So a typical Polaris setup was a booster pump in the equipment area with a time clock so that it ran only 1.5 hours a day, and that drove water only to the pool cleaner. So it had its own separate water supply, and that water drove the cleaner around the pool. I'm still a fan of that technology today. I think a water-driven cleaner is a beautiful thing, and I like the idea that it has its own power supply. At one point, we advertised that as a clean pool, 7 days a week for 7 cents a day. Today, the more modern version of how pool cleaners work is that they are mostly going to electric. So you plug them into a wall, it goes through a transformer, the current gets stepped down like it does with outdoor lights for your patio to a harmless low voltage kind of electricity so that no one can get harmed. And the cleaners walk around powered by a cord. Or today's most modern version of that is that there's a battery on board the cleaner. Once the battery is charged up, the cleaner can clean all by itself for about a day and a half, 2 days. And Polaris is just introducing those into the United States. They've been successfully selling them in Europe for a couple of years. So you're going to see in time a large portion of the industry switch over to cordless pool cleaners. That's what the consumers want. That's what they want to look at, and that's what they think meets their needs the best. So cordless cleaners are here to stay.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we see that trending too here at Pool Magazine. I mean, what are some of the company's proudest accomplishments over the past 50 years that you're aware of?
Well, one of the big ones was made in America. So while I was at the company, every single package had an American flag on it and said proudly made in America on the box. And in order to be made in America, the parts needed to come from America, the labor needed to be from America, the packaging from America. And, we literally made our own parts in a factory in San Diego, assembled it with workers from our factory, put them in boxes, and we proudly shipped American-made products. And the entire time that I was there, we did not import parts or whole products from any other country. And it was something I was the most proud of. I believe in it. I wish the entire industry were still that way. I think that COVID taught us all a painful lesson about what can go wrong when products are made overseas. There is an economic reality that companies need to compete, and to do that, many feel that they have to build in foreign countries. But we did not do that the entire time that I was at Polaris. So of the things I'm the most proud of, that was certainly one of them. The second one was the way that we treated the consumers, that we had 100% money back guarantee on every product that we sold. When we finally had a website, there was a button on the website, and a consumer could push the button and email me directly, and I would respond day and night. My phone number was there. Literally, my cell phone number and my desk phone number are on the website, and I encouraged consumers to call me. If they did and they had a problem, our approach was, by the time you get off the call, you will have decided how you want to be treated. So if you want your money back, you get your money back. If you want another product from our company, you can have that. If you want somebody to come to your house and fix your product, we'll send someone. If you want us to buy you one of our competitors' products, you name the competitor, we'll buy you that product and send it to your house. And with that kind of the customer is always right, the customer's needs always come first approach, we were very successful. And every week I got piles of letters from consumers thanking us for the product that we had. They paint faces on them, they name them, and they talked about what a difference it made in their life to have the little robot cleaning their pool so that they didn't have to. It was something that was enjoyed by customers, and it's really fun to make a product that's appreciated to the point where people write you and tell you about it.
Absolutely. I mean, Greg, we're almost at the end of our segment, but before we leave, what message would you like to share with Polaris customers and employees as the company celebrates its 50th anniversary?
Well, I'm still a fan of any kind of a pool cleaner because the pool cleaners stir the water up, they filter the water, they make the water healthier. All kinds of pollens and pollutants end up coming out of the water because of pool cleaners. So I'm a huge fan of those. I think the company has stood by their products respectfully for almost 50 years now, and it's a company you can do business with and have confidence in. There are clearly sound competitors now that can also meet that challenge and take good care of their customers. But I think that Polaris got there first. I think Polaris was the first company to put the customer in front of its own profits and its own success and say that we're going to take care of the customers and the rest of it will take care of itself. And I think the company still treats customers that way today.
Greg, thanks so much for taking the time to be on the show to chat with us about Polaris's 50th anniversary. We really appreciate spending the time with you today and for you giving us some of the insight and history behind Polaris.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
That's all the time we have today. So make sure to like, share, subscribe, and follow, and we'll catch you next time on another episode of Pool Magazine Podcast.
This episode of Pool Magazine Podcast is proudly sponsored by Ledge Lounger, the leaders in outdoor living and in-pool furniture. Ledge Lounger believes outdoor living inspires life's most meaningful moments, which is exemplified in their new collection, Autograph. Want to learn more about the Autograph collection? Check out what's new and visit our website at ledgeloungers.com.